It's my very great pleasure to introduce Çağlar Özden from the World Bank, one of the organisers of the 7th International Conference on Migration and Development. And Çağlar, perhaps you could say a few words about the Bank's continued support for this conference.
Thank you, Chris. First, I want to thank Oxford and especially IMI for the organisation. It's been great. We are grateful. This is probably the most successful so far of a very successful series of conferences. Why the World Bank? But let me give two sentences before that. Almost all development involves mobility. It involves moving people to better jobs, better places, firms moving or people moving to more productive firms. You cannot think of development without movement, except when it comes to actual international migration. And that's a big paradox, because when people, policymakers and even academics, and including many of my colleagues in the bank, think of international migration, they think of, oh, we have to have local development so people don't have to move. But I think I'm kind of agnostic about it, but for me, migration is development and development is migration, and whatever that migration may be. And there was a big mindset change in the bank around 7-8 years ago with François Bourignon and Alan Winters, when they decided we have to study migration and especially international migration. And this was, I think, also they were strong and brave enough to oppose the political pressures internally inside the bank. And this was a big program. It had multiple dimensions, from creation of large databases, which nobody had done before for public use, to original academic research, to policy work, and of course advocacy, but as well as dissemination, which this conference was part of. And it has been extremely successful. I can guarantee you, over the last 7 years, of the most impactful papers published on migration, all of them have been presented in this conference. We have over 200 submissions for 25 or so slots, great discussions, and new ideas emerge from the discussions that happened during the coffee breaks. So I think we have achieved much more than we had imagined from the outset, and I'm grateful to everybody who's been involved along the process.
And Çağlar, you've been instrumental and been one of the key players in leading the migration and development research agenda within the bank. Could you just say a few words about how your own research and the research within the research department of the World Bank dovetails with the presentations of this conference?
Okay, I have to think very carefully so I don't get fired. This is, as I said, it's still an uphill battle inside the World Bank in many ways, because especially the financial crisis, which impacted the labor markets of the OECD countries, which have been the main destinations for a lot of sudden migrants, created huge political, social, public opposition to migration. And we are seeing it especially in Europe, but also in the US. Plus now you have a large number of countries which are aging rapidly. Migration would never solve their problems, but it might buy them some time and release the pressures, but they are in denial. Right? So we are trying to do work, and of course the research unit of the World Bank, the way we operate is to show evidence and try to convince people. Sometimes we are successful, sometimes we're not, sometimes we, I think, come across too technical and we are dismissed because of it, because people think it's not truthful. But I think we have made some progress, and we'll keep on working on it. The more, I think, valuable service we have provided, at least we made the discussion possible within the World Bank, and having our operational colleagues have the discussion with their government counterparts. And we will proceed and we'll see where it leads us. You never know what happens next year.
So Çağlar, thank you very much, and we look forward to welcoming you to the conference next year.
Me too. Thank you, Chris.